Rolling.
Okay. Welcome. Your name is?
Jamie.
And what do you know that I don't know that just happened?
Well, Dwayne Emer was one of the occupiers in Malahir Refuge. And he was convicted of digging a hole, and he's now serving a year and a day.
He's going to serve a year and a day for digging a hole. Let me take off my Bundy cowboy hat because this makes my head swell up with pressure. This is from Judge Brown?
Yeah, Judge Anna Brown.
Judge Anna Brown, the Wicked Witch of the West.
When the FBI came and told them that they were coming in to kill them, he decided to dig a hole
to have a place to drop into to dodge the bullets.
A place for everybody to be so that they're not shot.
Yeah, makes sense.
Bat. So now he's been convicted by a judge. He didn't go in front of a jury or anything of a misdemeanor charge, so he has to go to prison for a year.
And you say he rode his horse down to turn himself in?
Rode his horse, 1,100 miles.
First of all, did anybody get any footage of him riding his horse?
Maureen Peltier got the whole journey. Well, she missed a couple days here and there.
Well, I'd like to see any amount of that.
Andrea Parker was there for quite a while.
Why didn't he get an attorney or just demand a jury trial, do you think?
I have no idea.
I'd like to talk to him. Well, I'd like to talk to Jerry DeLumis, too, who's doing, what, 50-plus years?
No. He had, Jerry DeLumis got 7 years.
7 years.
Was it 8 or 7?
No, it was 8 years because she gave him an extra... She gave him an extra year.
For what?
For coming and standing. For transporting weapons across state lines.
And I have the last interview with Jerry DeLumis before he was arrested.
I'd like to see that. You got it on YouTube?
Yes, I do. I'll get you the link. And also, Thomas Lockavar Stewart would like to speak with you also, so we'll put you in contact. I'll give you his number.
I would like the address of everybody who's in jail or who's pending trial.
I have a friend of ours is actually going through a list of all the ones that have been sentenced, all of them. There's 52 or 53
There's something wrong with the justice system, and I think what's wrong is it's not our justice system.
It's not.
It does not represent we the people. It represents the corporate Agenda 21, the globalist agenda. Don't you think?
Yeah, oh, absolutely it does.
How many days were you up there at the Malahir standoff?
I was born and raised in Burns, Oregon.
Which is how many miles from the Malahir?
30 miles.
30 miles. So you're close. You know the crooked sheriff who got appointed by the crooked judge?
Judge Grasty. I was born and raised there.
Judge Grasty actually returned my call.
Oh, yeah?
He left a message for me and he returned my call, but I missed it. I wanted to interview him, to ask him why he doesn't believe he's a criminal, but I didn't get a chance because we didn't have a live conversation. But it seems to me if your judge is appointed by a judge and the judge is crooked, the sheriff retired. I'd like to know why the other sheriff retired. Do you know?
I had no idea. I wasn't there during that time.
So the Bundys call for help. They win in Nevada.
No.
And I talked to Cliven Bundy at the Crown Plaza Hotel on I think the 19th or 20th first floor. We did an event there trying to start grand juries of we the people to start indicting the judges. David Fee picked up the major part of that cost, which was thousands of dollars. It had a potential of seating, I think, 500 people. And you're overlooking the Pacific Ocean. You probably drove by it when you came up here and didn't even notice it. And Cliven felt we won. The feds stood away, and I said to Cliven privately, you need to start a grand jury and indict the B.L.M. or they will come after you. If you don't come after them, they will come after you. He said, well, it hasn't happened. Bud is my bodyguard and everything's cool right now. And,
but it did happen.
And then a few months later, just what I feared would happen. He didn't indict them. He said, I don't know how to do a grand jury. Don't know anything about the grand jury. In fact, he said on film, which is on YouTube, he said, I just know when the militia showed up, the crap stopped. And he was right. And now he's free a man, 700 days in jail, and never convicted of even a misdemeanor.
Right.
And I assume his attorney Whipple is going to countersue for wrongful imprisonment, destruction of cattle, destruction of water lines, and it'll be in the millions. But the militia that answered the call, does that seem right to you that they should be they're just sort of
Yeah. Some of them are sitting in prison.
Sitting in prison, and they're the ones that stopped the crap.
Stop the bloodbath. Basically.
They stopped the bloodbath, and now we know that Daniel P. Love not only had a kill list with Bundy's name and Ahman's name and Ryan's name and a whole bunch of militia people, he had a written down list, which they didn't want to get on the court record in Nevada in this last trial, and that's why that crooked, I think that's fair to say, that crooked judge, Gloria Navarro, in her kangaroo court, she stopped that trial with prejudice because she didn't want no more videotape, no more witnesses flipping sides and saying, hey.
Cliven actually said he's not happy with the outcome.
I got that.
Because 2 more hours in court and it all would have come out.
It all would have come out.
All the corruption would have been out for public view. And that's why it was dismissed with prejudice, is because there's so much corruption behind that that they're not willing to.
If everything comes out, you're going to see Gloria appointed by Obama after a recommendation by Harry Reid. Harry Reid's office flunky named Neil Cornsey, with no experience, gets to be director of the BLM. And then Gloria goes on, this was a setup to kill the Bundys. Only the Bundys didn't know it. But had they not called for the militia, and Daniel went out with his kill list, they weren't just killing the cattle to kill cattle. Right. The order said, the order that I read, that is allegedly the true order, said they were to remove the cattle.
Right.
Didn't say anything about killing cattle. It said to remove the cattle. They weren't removing. They were boom, 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 boom. And I believe that, based on this witness that called me, I believe the plan was to get the Bundys to get so angry, grab their guns, and they already had snipers set up. Snipers were ready to blow Cliven's brains out, Ahman's brains. As soon as they picked up the rifle and came out of the house with it or out of their car, their heads would have been splattered. The sharpshooters were already set up in the hill, and according to one witness, 2 of those snipers were mafia hitmen. They weren't even registered with the BLM.
Well, BLM's got their own snipers that are...
Well, they do,
here, so.
But somebody was covering, making sure that there was a lot of blood, and all the Bundys had to do is pick up their rifles, and it was all over. And then afterward they said, well, they were fighting us, they were shooting at us, we got their fingerprints on their guns, we got multiple witnesses, they had guns, and the Bundys never once touched a rifle or a handgun. And that's probably part of the reason they're alive today. But when you see that Gloria Navarro in her kangaroo court goes from a street attorney, never been a Superior Court judge, just goes from that to federal judge, and then within 2 years, she's the presiding federal judge.
Yeah, I don't know all the statistics on that one.
Well, I did some research on this, and people have been calling me with information, and I can't tell you everything, but it looked to me like this was a slam dunk. As soon as the Bundys grabbed their rifles or handguns, they were dead meat. Luckily, they never did, but the militia there, with all the witnesses and all those people. Were you there in Nevada in April?
No, I wasn't there in April.
But so how many people are in jail from the Oregon thing? Let's flip back to that.
I don't know the exact numbers. There's 7 of them, aren't there?
I'm sorry, I was reading a comment here. Say it again.
I think there's 7 that are either in jail or on their way to jail. We had one was sentenced today.
Okay, so Greg Burleson is in 68 years. We have...
I'm talking about the Oregon.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Well, how many from Oregon? Because the Bundys walked out not guilty in Oregon. The Bundys and also that lady who's out free right away.
Shauna Cox.
Shauna Cox.
Yes, we had Ammon Bundy. We had his older brother Ryan. We had Jeff Banta.
We're talking about the ones that are in right now.
Oh, I was saying who the first in the first trial. They went to Neil Wampler,
Dwayne Emmer.
Yeah, in the second round. Yes.
But
in the first round you were talking about.
Yeah, I was talking about the first. So the first round they all walked out free.
Yes.
Nobody was convicted of anything in Oregon on the first tier.
That's right.
Now they had a second tier trial.
That's correct.
And Dwayne, he didn't show up for the trial.
No, he showed up.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, absolutely he did.
But he couldn't get a jury. He just agreed to cop a plea and show up. What happened to his horse? after
His
he
horse
turned?
is on the way back to...
He's got someone to take it back up?
Yeah.
Do you have those
His-
names, Thomas?
His
Who is he?
girlfriend was...
It seems to me something's very wrong when you can have Daniel P. Love, thug in charge of the BLM, with what, 100, 150 guys? They had more armor on than I had in Vietnam. And I knew people were trying to shoot me, but these guys had more armor. But
That's your everyday officer nowadays, is a fully militarized soldier.
yeah, this
And they
isn't.
step out of their squad cars. It's not just the BLM. It's every single law enforcement individual is,
Yeah, you're
is
right.
armed to the teeth.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, they're going to need it if they keep pushing the people
Well,
up against the wall. But I can see a righteous grand jury, correctly formatted with their bonds, oaths of office, could indict Anna Brown just based on 5 pages of the transcript that I read. She should be indicted.
well, so
She should be waiting for trial without bond.
So should Myrie. So should Harry Reid. So
Oh, Harry Reid,
all
definitely.
the way down the line.
But nobody knows about Neil Cornsey. He was head of the BLM. What qualified him out of the thousands of people in the BLM that have been serving in the BLM for decades? What makes him suddenly qualified to go from office flunky for Harry Reid to director of the BLM, and then same Harry Reid recommends on Christmas Eve '09 to the Judicial Select Committee on Appointments on Christmas Eve '09 to Obama to appoint, and May 10th of 2010, Gloria goes from street attorney with no judicial experience that I know of, she's suddenly a federal judge, and within 2 or 3
we all know
years,
it's
she's
corrupt.
presiding. So I look at this and I say,
The amount of courtrooms I've been in the past 2 years,
Is it Carter?
every single one of them's the same way.
Is it Carter?
unfortunately,
Washington,
I have to agree. That's what I have noticed.
Montana, Nevada, Oregon, all of them. They're all the same.
Yeah, Nevada is so corrupt, I won't even go into the state anymore. It's just so beyond. New Jersey and Nevada, I won't even go there. The last time I did any filming in New Jersey, I think was '07. Yeah, I think it was 2007. And what I saw was just appalling. And I said, I'm never going back to New Jersey under any circumstance for any reason.
Well,
And-
my fiance is from Jersey and she lives in Nevada now, so.
And Nevada's the other state. So we got 6 guys going to jail that were militia up in the mail hour.
They some of them weren't militia.
They were just
So
there.
They were there. Jason Patrick was part of. He was a spokesman. He was.
And there's Pete Santilli was
Pete
militia.
Santilli,
He
right.
was media.
He was media.
They didn't care. They put him in jail anyway.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going around on the internet about that whole scenario, but
How many people do you think that you met up there were fake militia? Were the 3%ers fake?
some of them were obviously. I mean, we had.
Were they government agents or government stooges sent there to?
Oh yeah, at one point there was more informants in Oregon. There was actually more informants on the refuge than there were actual occupiers.
That's amazing. That's something people should keep in mind. You have to know who you're dealing
Yeah,
with
16.
long in advance.
16 known informants there at the Mount here.
13, 14, 15, 16?
16 known informants.
And they don't want their names publicized in court records, do they?
Well, they're out there.
Yeah, they're out there.
We know who they are, and
So it makes me wonder how many informants were in April
Nevada.
2014 near Bunkerville under the I-15.
Well, they didn't need that many informants. I mean, they already said that they'd had plainclothes officers out there to evaluate the amendment zones, the First Amendment areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they already had plainclothes mixed in with everybody else. So.
Well, it strikes me that, I was asking people to watch my show to call 202-456-1111 and ask Trump to give a general full pardon to all the
Blanket
Bundys. A blanket pardon with all rights restored as if they'd never done anything wrong. Now that's not necessary for the Bundys, but you ought to do it for Dwayne.
Any of them that were involved.
You ought to do it for all the militia. He needs to pardon these guys because he's been wanting to tell the Ninth Circuit of the federal court system, he's been wanting to slap them upside. This would slap the Ninth Circuit upside the face. If the Bundy militia and the Mail Hour militia if they got all blanket pardons. That would slap Anna Brown upside the face like saying, you're a dumb, wicked witch of the West. And all these people you convicted, I'm going to give them full pardons with all rights restored as if they never did anything wrong. And now we start your indictment. And that's what should be happening to Gloria Never. She should be incarcerated right now, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I don't know why the people in Nevada haven't formed their own grand jury. It only takes 13 to 23 people. All they got to do is get their oath of office correct, get a bond from an insurance company, file it, and have a disbarred attorney guide them through the ropes so they don't get arrested like that grand jury up in Colorado that was going after their bond money. They wanted to collect the bond money. I don't care about the bond money. I want to see the crooked judges sitting in jail. And there's so many of them. And one of the things I have, in fact, I have the book upstairs, is the original 13th Amendment, ratified in 1812. Under this amendment, as soon as you join the bar, you lose your citizenship in the U.S. And you are no longer a U.S. citizen, and you are forbidden under the original 13th. Did you know about this?
No.
Yes.
You are
and let me interrupt you real quick.
Mr. Easley's off camera. He's interrupting you.
Okay. And Thomas Lochinvar Stewart, he came from New Jersey. He came to the Bundy Ranch in 2014 and also up to Oregon. And he's in a halfway house now. He had some firearm charges there. So, and as you were saying.
But I can show you an original book from 1822 with the 13th Amendment.
We're back.
We're back rolling here on camera. This is the first Constitution of Maine from 1825. It's very, very fragile. It basically has cardboard covers with thin cloth over it. It has the original 13th Amendment. This is from the state of Connecticut, 1838. But when you open it up, it actually says 1839. And here's the Facebook. It has the 13th Amendment. 1839, the statute laws of the state of Connecticut, and it gives the federal constitution, and the 13th Amendment is in here. And this one is from, this is also from Connecticut. This is 1835. I don't know if you can see it on the binder. It has the original 13th Amendment. This is from this is Rhode Island. These are the public laws of the state of Rhode Island. I don't know if the focus is in, but
Pull your top cover back, son. There you go.
1839, and I'll turn the page and I'll read this to you because this is kind of amazing, and they never tell you about this. On page 46, and this book is from this one is from 1822. If you look close down here, it actually says 1822. And on page 46 is the original 13th Amendment. And no lawyer, no judge will tell you about this. And if you ask them about it, they'll say, oh, it was never ratified. Well, excuse me. The first and second generation of founding fathers were not stupid. And they didn't reprint mistakes for 50 years. Here's the original 13th Amendment. You got that, Stephen? Right there?
Got it.
Okay, I'm going to read it to you. It's short. It's very simple. It's, if any citizen of the United States shall accept, claim, receive, or retain any title of nobility or honor, or shall, without the consent of Congress, accept and retain any present pension, office, or emolument of any kind whatever from any emperor, king, prince, or foreign power, that's what the bar is, such person shall cease to be a citizen of the United States and shall be incapable of holding any office of trust or profit under them or either of them. And it doesn't say just judges. That means every attorney who's sitting in Congress has no right to hold that office. He's engaged in high treason. And I have these 4 volumes. I paid a guy named Gus $1,000 a piece because I wanted to have the originals. This is an original I just showed you. This is 1822. That's a 196-year-old volume. and you look at the edge, and you can tell by the way the pages are crinkling up and turning yellow. It's the real thing. It's not a copy. It's not a reprint. Now do your research, and you find out it was never unratified. It was never repealed. Even though they just stopped printing it after 1868, it was never repealed. So if something is not repealed, it's still the law. Therefore, Anna Brown is guilty of high treason for taking an office of judgeship. The prosecutors, who are a member of the bars, are guilty of high treason. Gloria Navarro, or Navarro, I like to say Navarro in her kangaroo court because it rhymes. Gloria is guilty of high treason. Judge Geck in this county is guilty of high treason. Judge Herman in this county, Santa Barbara County, California, had no oath of office on file when I demanded to see it. Took him a day and a half to go print one up, backdate it, and have his wife backdate the signing of it. But they're supposed to have it on demand within minutes. They didn't have it for a day and a half. That's just Judge Herman. But this one from Maine is 1825, and you can see it's really fragile. I'm not going to open it because, take my word, it's in there. So if these 13 amendments have been on the books all this time, who's got a vested interest in making it disappear?
Federal government.
The federal government, and specifically, you fill up the federal government with bar-carded, what I call the bar-carded mafia. 1/3 of Congress, 1/2 of almost all the state legislatures are attorneys who are engaged in high treason. That's why they won't talk about it. No judge will honor this. If you take this into court, they will say, no, 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 you're crazy. Those books don't exist. Yeah, they do. I got them right here.
We see.
We got them. And other people have them, not the only one. And there's the Virginia statutes at large. People have copies of that. Every state prior to 1866 that existed adopted the original 13th Amendment. So I look at that and I say the wrong people are going to jail for digging a hole.
Absolutely, yeah.
Digging a hole to protect yourself against a federal onslaught after what we know about the federal B.L.M. now with Daniel Love planning.
Well, not to mention the B.L.M. and the Hammonds.
Well, yeah, we didn't even talk about the Hammonds, and that's why the Bundys went up there to help the Hammonds. Father and son Hammond refused to sell their ranch. And because they refused to sell it, the federal government said, oh, really? Oh, really? You won't sell it? We'll get you.
They attacked him for over 24 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
24 years.
It's been a fight for every rancher, farmer, everything for the past 30 years.
Yeah, and the Bundys' main crime was growing cattle for people to have steaks and hamburger.
Yeah. I'd like to interject this this guy, the Center for Biological Diversity, suckling. There's a whole crutch comes on the tortoise. Okay, so the tortoise is benefited by cattle on the land, and this is where we need to kick it out.
Coexisting for 100
years. There's a 300-year study that shows the existence and the benefit.
Mr. Easley's jumping back 20-some years. Originally, they told the Bundys and the 52 ranchers that gave up before the Bundys. Right. That's another thing I didn't tell you. The Bundys, if you haven't been following, are the last of 53 ranchers in what they call the strip north of North Las Vegas up to the gap where you go in towards St. George and the river comes out, and it's really... That area has two very rare minerals, and they want to strip mine it. And the ENN Corporation, which is a communist Chinese front group for the Chinese communist military, wants to bring in 5,000 Chinese to strip mine that. But they had to get the Bundys and the others out. Cliven Bundy is a hero. He should have his face engraved at Mount Rushmore.
He's on a coin.
He should be on more than a coin. He should be up there on Mount Rushmore. He did more than two of those heads up on Mount Rushmore ever did. He stopped the B.L.M. and not only that, he suffered 700 days. None of those heads on Mount Rushmore ever spent 700 days in jail upholding the Constitution and pushing the federal government back into their 10 square miles of Washington, D.C. and their military bases. Cliven did that, but he paid a terrible, terrible price to do that. And then they cut him off. Gloria cut him off because of the jury. Don't you agree?
Yep.
If the jury had been allowed to give a verdict, it would have been so damning. It would have been like the Michael Jackson trial that I went to, and I was the only one that said Michael's going home free. The prosecutors have falsified all the evidence. They've all been caught. The witnesses have been caught in their lies. Same thing here. And when Wooten changed sides,
Yep.
that was a point where I'm sure a light went on in Gloria Navarro's head saying, "Oh my Satan, I'm in deep trouble."
I think there was a lady, Pamela, I think was her name, that came on the stand that was the one that actually released the information about there being a camera watching over the Bundy ranch. And because they withheld that information and hid it for 2 years.
For 2 years?
Rugwell was her
2 years,
name.
yeah.
Rugwell.
Yes.
Rugwell.
Was it Pamela
Rugwell?
It's not
Rugwell.
Pamela. It's I forget her
I can't
first
remember
name.
her
It's
name.
Rugwell. No, I don't think it's
But
Pamela.
she's the one that first opened the door.
But how many other agents are going to flip sides when they see? Because I'm sure all those BLM agents didn't know Daniel had a written kill list of people to be killed and murdered. That's premeditated murder.
Yeah.
So every one of those BLM agents, including Wooten, are accessories to a pre-planned murder.
They had pictures of Eric Parker and Cliven Bundy with red X's on them in the notebook.
Yeah,
They also had pictures pinned up on the bulletin board
in
with
their office.
Yeah.
I'd like to see photos of those walls with those pictures, but I don't think we're going to
Eric
ever see them.
Parker,
They
he
tore
was
them all
up
off the
there.
wall and shredded them on the 12th.
Yeah, and this
They
is
shredded
what Brian,
everything that was there. They shredded all the documentation, and that's what started the.
they called it a hurried shredding. See, I was in
That's
the
a
court.
misprision of felony because you're hiding evidence.
Destroying evidence.
You're destroying evidence. So whoever shredded that needs to be indicted as well.
Beyond the Brady violations and the Giglio violations.
What do you
This
think-
is an outright. It was a shoot to kill and cover up operation.
Yeah, shoot to kill and cover up. And I think there's even more that we don't know yet. I mean, I would have never dreamed that they would have actually had a written kill list where they actually put it in writing. This guy must die, this one, we're going to kill these people. That's premeditated murder with malice aforethought.
Absolutely.
You can get the death penalty for that. And I'm wondering why the U.S. prosecutors haven't gone after Daniel P. Love and his second in command and Neil Cornsey and said, come, we've got some handcuffs for you.
Absolutely.
We want you to sit in this nice, safe room because we want to protect you from the militia. And we might just put you on trial.
Maybe.
That's what should be happening.
But it's not.
It's not happening.
They're so well protected. Larry Klayman is right now. They're going for establishing the jurisdiction in the state of Nevada for the control of the lands. Then he told me that then he's going for to have Myrie disbarred, which I don't think is near enough.
Oh,
No,
he needs to
disbarment
be
is
locked up.
no.
He needs to be locked up.
He's an accessory to murder. He's an accessory after the fact to murder. And I know a man that was working here in this town who didn't know that his relative was going to kill somebody, just drove the car and found out after he killed him that he'd killed him. But he didn't know driving him there. He got 25 years in jail for finding out after the fact and not immediately calling the cops. And that was a relative of his. He did 25 years for something he didn't know happened. So I think the prosecutors, not just Steve Myers, but all of those prosecutors,
Myrie,
Steve Myrie and all the prosecutors need to be held for accessory to murder.
Nadia Ahmed and Stephen Myrie were at the Bundy Ranch in previous to April 2014, as early as
2009.
Sizing it up?
Yeah,
2009.
yeah, they were out there during the operation. They were.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were trying to entrap the Bundys,
I'm sure.
like you were speaking of earlier.
Absolutely.
Now, also, this is secondhand and hearsay, but I understand at the airport that the governor was there. Oh boy, I probably not even say this without saying it, but the sheriff was there. Harry Reid and somebody from D.C. There were high ups
Yeah.
that stayed outside the local scene there, and I'm sorry I don't have
That's why I've been
Can't
wearing
pull that
my
right.
Bundy hat, because I've been wearing this Bundy cowboy hat because these guys are the most honorable gentlemen I've seen anywhere, because they paid the price. They spent months, years in jail, and now the militia is paying the price. And people, you need to call 202-456-1111 and say full pardons for all the militia from Malheur resistance and for
The Bundy
the
stand up.
Bundy's stand in
Or
2014.
Stand up.
We need to see the real criminals that were wearing the B.L.M. outfits, and we need to find out who else was wearing B.L.M. shoulder patches and uniforms but weren't really in the B.L.M.
Well, I'll tell you
And
something
we need to
else.
identify the Las Vegas Metropolitan Bomb Squad people that were out there. What was they doing? They're way outside their jurisdiction. This was Metropolitan. There's video and photos of them out there. What were they doing? They need to be held as accessories to murder. And the reason they need to be held, the Las Vegas police had no idea. But that doesn't matter. Under the law, if you assist somebody who's planning premeditated murder, you are as guilty as they are.
Let's not forget the Oregon State Police.
Oh yeah, I forgot. The Oregon State Police stood around and just watched. The Clark County Police stood around and did nothing. The sheriff of Clark County could have stopped all of this if he had just said.
The sheriff of Harney County could have stopped everything that was going on if he had just done his job and protected the people.
There were several tech squads there. There was from L.A. They had several elite sniper teams, and you know that this, what do they call them? Special response teams.
Special response.
Right.
I call them kill snipers.
Now, yeah, and
You know,
Dan Love, he was out there all cowboyed up with his ball cap on backwards.
Yeah.
His rifle slung over there, dressed as a civilian. And how many other feds were out there in amongst us there at in Toko Wash?
Well, I'm sure if it all comes out, you're going to find out there were at least 3 videotapes that we have not seen or heard of. You're going to find that out if everything comes out. If Whipple does a thorough job, and that's a problem, he will need money, because this whole process takes a lot of money. They make it deliberately expensive so the criminals win. I mean, the bar-carded people win. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. But the average citizen doesn't have the money. They can't keep slugging it out and slugging it out. So we named the guy that was just arrested today or turned himself in today.
Yeah.
Wayne?
Dwayne.
Dwayne. How do you spell his last name?
Ehmer. Dwayne Emer.
And who else up in Oregon is going to
We
jail?
got Jason Patrick's going to be sentenced in March.
Well, he's filed for retrial.
And
Jake Ryan was sentenced at 2:30 today. I've not heard.
and he had also filed.
Yeah.
So they've got petitions in to get it to go back to court.
This is a case where Tom Mesereau should do a pro bono. And I know him. I'll call him and see if he'll. I don't know if he will, but I'll call Tom Mesereau, because he does, when he does his job, he does a really thorough job. That's why they weren't able to buffalo the jury in the Michael Jackson case. So how many militia do we have totally in jail?
They never did, but the
From
militia
both?
there.
How many?
From both of them?
From both of them.
I'm not sure how many from both of the...
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in and stopping by in Santa Maria. I wish we could
Do you
have
have that number?
got it
Which
all
number?
done.
No, I don't.